heads up because you are in the Hoodwood. I'm the Black Bandit KJ Green, welcoming you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood. Coming up in this edition, Tyson Paul, Ultimate Fight or Ultimate Farce. We'll take a look inside the numbers. And the Inside NBA TV show moving to where? Get the details of a big move and some other shakeups that could be as a result. NFL coaches on the hot seat. Which coaches I think might be putting their houses up for sale in the not too distant future. The Juan Soto sweepstakes heats up. What teams might be in the running for the slugging superstar? We'll have NFL Week 12, Hoodwood Hot 5, Phat head slap, and a bunch of other things going on. It's a fast-moving week for sports in the Hoodwood. Do the Hoodwood hustle with Snuffy. It's the Hoodwood hustle? Do the dance, I guess. It's sports from the Hoodwood coming at you. Put your crush helmets on, buckle your seatbelts, and let's go.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest, unfiltered commentary and insight on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's Hoodwood's hometown hero, KJ Green.
Greetings from the Hoodwood, where the dog is doing the Hoodwood hustle, primarily because he was about to fall asleep watching the Tyson Paul fight. That was too late to be up to watch that kind of a farce. I'm your man KJ Green, welcoming you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood, and let's just start it off. Let's get it out of the way. Tyson Paul, 8 rounds. That fight was a farce. It wasn't a fight. It was a lot of dancing around and slap boxing and whatnot. Mike Tyson at 58 years old fighting a man 30 years his junior, and the hype for the fight was just ridiculous. It was supposed to be fought back in July. Tyson got sick. They postponed it for almost 4 months. And then what did you have? Did you watch the fight? I did. And so did 60 million households. Better than a fifth of the nation turned in to watch this fight that was streaming on Netflix. 72,300 piled into AT&T Stadium to see Paul. I really don't know. I really can't say. He's got more wins in that venue than the Cowboys do. Oh, too soon? I don't know. $18.1 million at the gate. That was the largest non-Vegas fight gate in U.S. history. The 9th largest combat sports gate in U.S. history. MVP Sports made Jake Paul's promotional arm made a lot of money for this fight. And to be honest, it was a joke. I really didn't think that they would brawl, but you were hoping that it was going to be some semblance of a fight. Mike Tyson only connected with 18 punches. 18 over 8 rounds. That's less than 3 a round. And Jake Paul landed more punches than Mike Tyson threw. Well, I stand corrected. He landed almost as many punches as Mike Tyson threw. I'll put some of the stats up here. But it's the numbers, the sheer numbers of punches that were thrown. And people were saying, oh, the fight was fixed. Tyson held back. I thought it would have been a bigger thing if Mike Tyson hadn't held back, allegedly. If he had really threw some haymakers. I wanted to see if Jake Paul could take a punch. A real punch. I'm not talking about these farcical fights that he's had before against palookas and tomato cans. I wanted to see if he really could fight. I wanted to see if Mike Tyson had one more mega fight left in him. Obviously he didn't. You could tell by the 3rd round his legs were shot. He was tired. He was out of shape. He's not in real prime boxing shape. And because these were only 2-minute rounds, these weren't 3-minute rounds. 8 2-minute rounds, it was a joke. Now, the fights on the undercard, I honestly think Amanda Serrano has some serious beef. Katie Taylor of Ireland did not beat her in that fight. And I don't give a damn what those cards said. Taylor did not beat Serrano. Yes, Serrano had a nasty cut up above her eye. But Serrano landed more punches, more power punches. I think she controlled the fight. But a lot of the judges, all 3 of the judges didn't think so. They gave her a unanimous decision. The fights on the undercard were pretty decent. And I suspect that the promotional company that was putting this on wanted them to be good fights. Because all the build up to the main event really wasn't. And the main event really wasn't that good. I mean, you wait till almost midnight for this fight to go on, and nothing really, there wasn't a knockdown. There really wasn't a power punch. There was one punch where Paul hit Tyson pretty decently. But my card had 76-74 for Paul. I had 6 rounds for Paul, the first 2 for Tyson. After the second round, his legs were shot. And everybody could tell it. I really don't think that the two of those fighters knew that it was going to be a farce and kind of gave enough of a slap boxing exhibition where people would at least stay around. Was it worth it? I'm glad it wasn't on pay-per-view, because I had to pay $49.95 for that. I'd have been mad. And there was a beef with Netflix. We'll detail that later, but the Tyson-Paul fight wasn't a fight. It was a farce. So Snuffy says he hates moving, and I'm pretty much with him. I haven't moved in a few years, even though I did a lot when I was younger. But a big move is on the horizon. Inside the NBA, which has been on TNT since 1990. Now, think about how long ago that was. I graduated high school in 1990. But Inside the NBA has been a staple of TNT for the better part of 3 decades. Has won numerous awards. Ernie Johnson has been on the show since its inception. And Kenny Smith has been on since 98. Charles Barkley's been on since 2001. Shaq O'Neal has been on since 2011. That core 4, since 2011, I think has been the best in analyzing and giving commentary on the National Basketball Association. I think they're the best in the biz. I think the show is the best in the biz. The problem is the NBA is moving more of its programming to ESPN. TNT is losing its broadcast rights to the National Basketball Association at the conclusion of this year, which means that more or less Inside the NBA will be going away. Or would it? Inside the NBA is actually moving to ESPN starting in the 25-26 season. In trade, now this is the best part, this is the interesting part about it, the Big 12, the broadcast rights to the Big 12, both football and basketball, will be moving to TNT. Switch is being made. Now the question is, will this show stay in its same form and format? Ernie Johnson has been with TNT for the better part of 4 decades. He's a fixture on that network. Charles Barkley has basically, aside from some NCAA studio broadcast work, has mostly been on TNT, as has Kenny the Jet Smith and Shaq O'Neal. The 4 of those broadcasters have made that show what it is. They're engaging, they're funny, they're extremely knowledgeable. I mean, you've got in Barkley and O'Neal 2 basketball Hall of Famers. Kenny the Jet Smith has won a couple of NBA titles on his own. The knowledge that these players, these three guys, plus Ernie Johnson, who is he's the glue that holds the show together. He can throw barbs at the best with the best of them. They're engaging. It's an entertaining show. It's something that basketball hoop heads know and love. Most of the time, Inside the NBA is on too late for me to stay up because most of the time they have the doubleheaders at 7:30 and 10. They're on before and after the games. Most of the time, it's up too late for me to watch it. That being said, it's still one of the best shows going, sports anthology shows. It's one of the best shows going in TV right now. Them making the move to ESPN, Disney basically with TNT and ESPN basically bringing some of what they think are the better programs to its flagship network. Will the commentary still be as sharp, as pointed? Because the players, Smith, Barkley, and O'Neal, have been very sharp in their criticism. They have been very pointed. They don't pull punches, which makes what makes the show as good as it is. Shaquille O'Neal is not under contract to make the move. Will he sign a contract to be on ESPN? Charles Barkley has said that he wants to stay with TNT. Ernie Johnson has been with TNT, like I said, for decades. Even before Inside the NBA. He was a sideline reporter. The trade-off, and then Big 12 football, basketball, being on TNT. Will that be more of a downgrade? That is something that needs to be worked out in the details. On the surface, this looks like a major move. Me personally, I think the product may suffer. And I think that the show as a whole will take a step back. Especially if you're losing that chemistry and combination that Johnson, Smith, Barkley, and O'Neal have brought to that show. It's something to think about. Let's take a time out, come back, and look at NFL coaches on the hot seat and the Juan Soto sweepstakes. Where will the Yankee slugger land? Sports Hoodwood comes back at you after this.
Is today your last day on Earth because you are being deployed to space tomorrow? Have you just turned 18 and you're ready to get out of your parents' house? Has your granddaughter gotten her boyfriend pregnant? Whatever your reason, you need us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com. We specialize in last-minute weddings. Active duty, military veterans and retired discounts are available. Visit us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com.
Hoodwood, the internet's premier destination for no-nonsense commentary, thorough analysis, and logical insight on the world of sports. Now here's the man that Wikipedia and Google call for sports fact checks, your host, KJ Green.
You are back in the Hoodwood. My name is KJ Green, and it's an inherent nature of the business You have winning coaches, you have losing coaches. Winning coaches are the toast of the town. Matt Campbell in Detroit, Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. Bill Belichick was a legend in the New England area. He'll probably be a legend somewhere else if he decides to go to another venue. But you have the other end. Coaches that are in trouble. If they're not winning, the for sale sign starts popping up on lawns. We're going to look at the 5 coaches that I think are really on the hot seat. And we'll start with Zach Taylor of the Bengals. And I'll be honest, I've never been a fan of his. I thought he was a hack coach when he was the offensive coordinator for my beloved Bearcats in college. I never understood why Mike Brown decided that he was going to be a good coach. He was an offensive coordinator. He was the quarterback's coach of the Rams when they went to the Super Bowl. Not when they won the Super Bowl, but when he developed Jared Goff into a decent quarterback. But I still don't think he was that good of a coach. He came to Cincinnati. He really wasn't winning. Joe Burrow came as the number 1 pick because the Bengals were so bad under Zach Taylor. 2 years later, he goes to the Super Bowl. And I think it was because Joe Burrow was under the offensive direction of Brian Callahan, and that offense was that good. They got on a roll late. They beat the Raiders in the wild card round, upset the Titans and the Chiefs, and suddenly in the Super Bowl. And suddenly Zach Taylor's a genius? Come on now. Since then, the Bengals have won a pair of playoff games. He is the Bengals' all-time winning playoff leader with 5. But this year, the Bengals are 4-7. And after that farce of a game on Sunday night, where they were behind so bad to the Chargers that it looked like there was no hope, they scrambled back into the game. But still, some very poor decisions have hampered the Bengals. The Bengals are 4-7. The Bengals were supposed to be a Super Bowl contender this year, and they might not even make the playoffs. And I think that might put Taylor's job in jeopardy. Next up, we have Brian Daboll of the New York Giants. The G-Men are a mess, a hot mess. The team isn't going anywhere. They're 3-8. They haven't played worth anything. Now they're trying to shake up the quarterback situation by putting in Tommy DeVito. Daniel Jones was a very expensive mistake for the G-Men. Daboll was brought in because he had helped develop Josh Allen in Buffalo. He was offensive coordinator for the Bills. Very high-powered offense. Many people thought he could take his tutelage and give it some knowledge to Daniel Jones to help develop him to be a better quarterback. And it hasn't worked. And even though Daboll and the Giants have made the playoffs, one time they beat my Vikings a couple years back, this team is nowhere close to living up to its potential. There's already been a firing in New York already, with Robert Saleh being fired by the Jets earlier this year. Could Daboll be the next coach to be out in New York? It's very possible. Next, we have Matt Eberflus of the Chicago Bears. The Bears started out solid, but as has been their wont, Eberflus cannot develop a quarterback. He has spectacularly failed with Justin Fields first, and now Caleb Williams, as a rookie, is struggling. Now, rookies are wont to struggle, but the offense for the Bears has went from mediocre to outright bad. Their 19 points they scored against the Packers last week was more than the last 2 weeks they had scored combined. And that is all going to go back to the coach. Now, the Bears have never been a very offensively talented team. You can go all the way back as far as Mike Ditka, and the offense really wasn't that good beyond the late, great Walter Payton. Matt Eberflus might very well be the victim of this again. Number 2 on our list is Kevin Stefanski of the Browns. Now, the Browns are just a mess. Offensively, they cast their lot with Deshaun Watson. And Kevin Stefanski was like, look, if we paying this dude all this money, I'm going to ride him out as much as I can. Thankfully, maybe, I don't know, Watson got hurt. Jameis Winston has come in and played. He's played decently. But the Browns' defense is horrible. And combining with a suspect offense with a terrible defense are going to lose you games. They got their backs blown out by the Saints. The Saints ain't scaring nobody. They fired their coach last week. And then they turn around and whomp up on the Browns? Are you serious? Not a good look. And with the Browns trying to campaign for a new stadium, it's not going to look good if your coach ain't winning your games. Finally, the one coach that I say is going to be on the hot seat and is probably on his way out is Mike McCarthy of the Cowboys. The Pokes have looked absolutely atrocious. They can't win at home. They looked awful Monday night against the Texans, getting slapped around in front of another disgruntled home crowd. They've gotten their backs blown out by the Saints, the Lions, and now the Texans. Jake Paul has more wins in AT&T Stadium than the Cowboys this year. What does that tell you? All 5 of these coaches may very well not make it to Christmas. I don't think any of them they should make it past the end of the season. I was looking over some numbers here, and Juan Soto is worth it. He looks like he's going to be one of the highest paid players in Major League Baseball. 201 home runs, 592 RBIs. He started with the Nationals in 18 and got traded to the Padres in 22, and then moved on to the Yankees in 24. And now he's making his free agent walk. And the numbers are going to be staggering. You thought players like Manny Machado and Mookie Betts, you thought those numbers were going to be crazy. You thought the numbers that Shohei got were ridiculous. What this kid is going to get, and think, he's only 26, hitting the free agent market in the prime of his career. The teams that I'm thinking that are in the race for Juan Soto, New York Mets, of course, the New York Yankees, for him to stay with the Yankees, the LA Dodgers. Could you imagine him in that star-studded lineup? Be almost criminal. And then 2 teams that you would be really surprised to hear that will be in the running or interested in getting the services of Juan Soto. The Toronto Blue Jays could just see him with Vlad Guerrero Jr., a real northern exposure 1-2 punch, and the Philadelphia Phillies. Bryce Harper wants a title shot. He wants to get a title. And getting Juan Soto may very well further that end. Now, where do I think Juan Soto will go? I think he stays with the New York Yankees. That is the one team that can provide him with the most exposure, the most comfortable ability. He is comfortable with that lineup, hitting behind Aaron Judge. And they can provide that kind of postseason clout that they will be postseason contenders year in and year out. He wasn't playing well in the postseason. Now, Juan Soto does have a World Series ring. He got one with the Nats in 19. So he has a chip already. He's almost like how Reggie Jackson would say, I'm not coming somewhere to be a star. I'm bringing my star to this place, wherever he goes. He was too big for Washington, too big for San Diego, and only a handful of teams are going to be able to put up the kind of jack that he's going to want. I'm hearing numbers to start out with $500 million. We're talking Shohei money and then some. And Soto is younger, much younger than Ohtani. He's not a two-way player like Ohtani is, but he's young, he's pretty much healthy, and he's a big-name slugger that teams will be very inclined to have him on their roster. Take another timeout, come back, and look at NFL Week 12. It did pretty good last week, and see if I can keep it rolling. And we'll take a look at that, as well as Hoodwood Hot 5, Phat Head Slap, and the final word from the wood. But that's further down the horizon. We'll get to the NFL picks next. Sports from the Wood. Try that again. Sports from the Hoodwood rolls on after this. KJ Green, if you're looking to reach a broad audience for your advertising dollar, look no further than where you are right now. You can advertise right here in the Hoodwood. If you need spots created as well, Black Bandit Productions and Enterprises can create commercial content that drives sales and gets results. You can send your inquiries to ads at blackbanditproductions.com. Black Bandit Productions and Enterprises. Sounds, ideas, and images of the 21st century.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest insight, thorough analysis, and unfiltered opinion on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's the man of the hour, After Hours, your host, KJ Green.
You are back in the Hoodwood. My name is KJ Green, and there are just some times where you just should know better. For the record, it was a 10-win week, but for some dumb reason, I picked the Bengals, whose fans should sue them for emotional distress. Trusting Atlanta on the road in the mountains was a foolish call, I know, as well as trusting an injury-addled 49er squad to be able to hold the line against Seattle, even though they had beaten them 6 straight. The Ravens-Steelers game, for the record, was a toss-up, so I really wasn't sore about that loss, but that's how close I was to a 13-win week. But I will settle for 10. You'll hear no complaints from the Hoodwood. In any case, for your review, consumption, and perusal, please note the following picks for your approval. As always, lines are provided by ESPN Bet for comparison and entertainment purposes only. It's on you. If you bet the lines and lose the money you had designated for the good cranberry sauce and stuffing, and have to race out on Thanksgiving morning to get the off-brand stuff, the only stuff that's left on the shelf. Now, please do note that the Falcons, who are 6-5 after losing to the Broncos 38-6, Bills, who are 9-2, who defeated the Chiefs 30-21, aforementioned Bengals, who are 4-7 after losing to the Chargers 34-27, and the 4-7 Saints, who defeated the Browns 35-14, as well as the 3-8 Jets, who lost to the Colts 28-27, and the 2-9 Jaguars, who lost to the Lions 52-6, are on their respective byes this week. And as always, for a comprehensive map for the games in your area, which all times Eastern Standard. Please do check the fine folks at 506sports.com. Now, I don't have to worry about that because I have Sunday ticket, but I'm not bragging. Let's get into the games. The Sunday, November 24th games. Again, I remind you, all times are Eastern Standard. We'll start with 8-2 Vikings taking on the 4-6 Bears at Soldier Field in Chicago. 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox. The Vikings are 3.5-point favorites. Last week, the Vikings defeated the Titans 23-13, while the Bears lost to the Packers 20-19. Fast fact is, with their win last week, the Vikings finished unbeaten against AFC teams. They're 5-0. Now, the Vikings have a bevy of ugly wins on their resume, but they have a 3-game winning streak in their pockets and head to the Midway to face Bears team that did everything right except finish, losing a painful last-second decision to the Packers at the gun, their despised divisional bully. Now, the Bears have played uneven against the visitors. However, the wary Vikings, trying to keep pace with the rampaging Lions, will not take them for granted. The Bears seem to find a way to mess up a good thing every chance they get, and the opportunistic Vikings will cash in enough to get a needed win. The pick here is Minnesota. Next on the docket, we have the 9-1 Lions taking on the 5-6 Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. 1 p.m. kickoff on Fox. The Lions are 7-point favorites. Last week, the Lions defeated the Jaguars 52-6, while the Colts defeated the Jets 28-27. Fast fact here is the Lions' 46-point win over the Jags was their third win this season by a margin of 38 points or more. No other NFL team has won a game by 38 points or more this season even once. Now, the Lions showed zero effect from a tough Sunday night showdown in Houston by eviscerating the woeful Jags. Now, they faced their fourth AFC South team in 5 weeks, headed to Indy to face a middling Colts team that won a thrilling duel with the Jets in Gotham. Now, the Lions have a frightening complement of offensive weapons. Their relentless defense just keeps coming at you. This is not a good outlook for the Colts, who are trying to get Anthony Richardson in a good headspace. This is the kind of game prospect that keeps young quarterbacks and their offensive coordinators up at night. I can't see a blowout like they handed the Titans or Jags, but it should be a comfortable win nonetheless. The pick here is Detroit. Next on the docket, we have the 3-8 Patriots taking on the 4-6 Dolphins at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. 1 p.m. kickoff on CBS. The Dolphins are 7-point favorites. Last week, the Patriots lost to the Rams 28-22, while the Dolphins defeated the Raiders 34-19. Fast fact here is the Dolphins are looking for their second consecutive season sweep, of the Pats, something they have not done since 1999-2000 seasons. Now, the Pats played unevenly. I'll try it again. The Pats played unevenly and dropped a tight one to the Rams. Now they head south to face a Dolphins team that is growing with confidence after back-to-back wins. Tua Tagovailoa has been playing solidly, as is his wont when he is healthy. The Pats defense will give it a go, but they are not equipped to handle a multifaceted offense that the Dolphins can produce. The pick here is Miami. Next on the docket, we have the 3-7 Cowboys taking on the 7-4 Commanders at Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland. 1 p.m. kickoff on Fox. The Commanders are 10-point favorites. Last week, the Cowboys lost to the Texans 34-10, while the Commanders lost to the Eagles 26-18. Fast fact here is the Cowboys are on a 5-game losing streak, but have a winning record on the road this season at 3-2. Go figure. Now, the Pokes took another frightful beating and are catching the Commanders at the absolute wrong time. Stung after 2 losses in 4 days to Pennsylvania-based teams, they've had 10 days to stew. Add the fact the Pokes are coming in off of a short week from a Monday night game. This has the makings of an absolute beatdown and could be a very, very ugly game. Commanders have a solid offensive unit and a redoubtable defense, something the Pokes do not possess on either end. The pick here is Washington. Next on the docket, we have the 9-1 Chiefs taking on the 3-7 Panthers at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. 1 p.m. kickoff on CBS. The Chiefs are 11-point favorites. Last week, the Chiefs lost to the Bills 30-21, while the Panthers were on their bye. Fast fact here for Kansas City, this is Patrick Mahomes' first ever visit to Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. For the Panthers, fast fact is that running back Chuba Hubbard had a career best 158 rushing yards against the New York Giants in Munich 2 weeks ago. Now, the Chiefs were the last team in the NFL to take an L. And they stay on the road to face a Panthers team coming in off of a bye and are feeling good about themselves after back-to-back wins. The Chiefs, however, are not in the best of moods after a loss to their bitter arch rivals, the Bills, and will not play around with this opponent. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. The Kansas City Chiefs are the Hoodwood lock of the week. Next on the docket, we have the 4-6 Buccaneers taking on the 2-8 Giants at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 1 p.m. kickoff on CBS. The Buccaneers are 5.5-point favorites. Last week, both teams were on their respective byes. Fast fact here is the Buccaneers have lost 4 straight and have allowed 31 points and 425 games over that 4-game losing streak. Now, both teams are coming in rested off of byes, as I noted earlier, but the Bucs have a little more organization to themselves. Now, G-men are changing quarterbacks, as highly unsurprising as that is. They will be going with Tommy Cutlets DeVito and benching the ineffective Daniel Jones. The Bucs need a win in the worst way, or risk letting a chance to keep the Falcons in sight get away. Baker Mayfield is overdue for a big game, and the porous Giants secondary will be good tonic to that end. The pick here is Tampa Bay. Let's take a timeout, come back with the rest of the NFL Week 12 picks. Sports from Hoodwood rolls on after this.
You are tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for opinion, analysis, and insight on the world of sports. Here now is the man banned from sports trivia contests in 38 states and 4 Canadian provinces, and not to mention Guam. Your host, KJ Green.
You are back in the Hoodwood, and on we go with the Week 12 NFL picks. Next on the docket, we have the 2-8 Titans taking on the 7-4 Texans at NRG Stadium in Houston. 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS. The Texans are 8-point favorites. Last week, the Titans lost to the Vikings 23-13, while the Texans defeated the Cowboys 34-10. Fast fact, here's the Titans' Will Levis pass to Nick Westbrook-Ikine, covering 98 yards, is the longest play in the NFL this season. Now, the Titans, save for that aforementioned 98-yard bomb, play their usual doddering selves on offense and lost a tight one to the Vikings. They head to Houston to face the Texans team that bounced back from a tough defeat by the Lions to whip the Cowboys. Asking the Titans' suspect defense weakened by injury to count for a multifaceted Texans offense and keep C.J. Stroud, Joe Mixon, Tank Dell, Nico Collins et al. Might be asking a bit too much. The pick here is Houston. Turning to the late games, we have the 5-5 Broncos taking on the 2-8 Raiders at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. 4:05 kickoff on CBS. The Broncos are 5.5-point favorites. Last week, the Broncos defeated the Falcons 38-6, while the Raiders lost to the Dolphins 34-19. Fast fact, after snapping an 8-game losing streak to the Raiders with a win last month, the Broncos look for their first ever win in Vegas and first season sweep since 2014. Now, the Broncos may finally found their franchise quarterback as Bo Nix shined in a surprisingly easy rout of the Falcons in front of a giddy Denver crowd. They head to Vegas to face a Raiders team that just can't get right. Nix and company are fighting themselves, and that underrated defense is making life tough on opposing offensive units. This might get ugly fast. The pick here is Denver. The Fox game, at least one of the two of them, has had the 5-5 49ers taking on the 7-3 Pack at Lambeau Field in Green Bay. 4:25 kickoff On Fox, the Packers are 2.5-point favorites. Last week, the 49ers lost to the Seahawks 20-17, while the Packers lost, Last week, the 49ers lost to the Seahawks 20-17, while the Packers defeated the Bears 20-19. Fast fact, here's the 49ers have one regular season win in Green Bay since 1990. That was in 2012. Though they have 2 playoff wins in Green Bay in the last 2 visits to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Now, the Niners blew a winnable game at home with a stunning late defensive collapse. They head to the frozen tundra to face a Packers team that needed a fortunate field goal block to beat the Bears. Now, the Niners are a walking mass unit, and if Brock Purdy is unable to go, the formidable Brandon Allen might get the call to start at quarterback. Not a real good prospect when facing a freewheeling Packer defense on the road. This won't bode well for the visitors, especially if it snows. The pick here is Green Bay. Next on the docket, we have the 6-4 Cardinals taking on the 5-5 Seahawks at Lumen Field in Seattle. 4:25 kickoff on Fox. The Seahawks are 1-point favorites. Last week, the Cardinals were on their bye, while the Seahawks defeated the 49ers 20-17. Fast fact, here's the Seahawks' first ever opponent in franchise history were against these same Cardinals, who were then based out of St. Louis. The Cardinals defeated the Seahawks 30-24 on September 12, 1976. This is a sneaky good game that most of the country won't see. The Cardinals are liking their newfound role as divisional bully, while the Seahawks walk tall with a late rally to defeat a fading Niners squad. This aviary battle will feature rugged defenses who are trying to stave off quietly good offenses. This will be a tough, taut game to be sure, and I'm calling this an upset only based on the records, and this will make an airtight division even more so. That's why I'm going with Seattle as a Hoodwood upset of the week. Sunday night game is the 8-2 Eagles taking on the 5-5 Rams at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. 8:20 kickoff on NBC and Peacock. The Eagles are 3-point favorites. Last week, the Eagles defeated the Commanders 26-18, while the Rams defeated the Patriots 28-22. Fast fact, here's the last time the Rams beat the Eagles in LA was 1977, before either one of the head coaches of the respective squads was even born. The primetime game is a good one in itself. The Eagles have been playing the best ball in the NFC outside of Detroit and head west to face the Rams team that is still very much in the playoff hunt. Jalen Hurts is playing solidly, and Saquon Barkley is putting up MVP numbers. The Rams, for their part, have seemingly shaken off a slow start and have been playing better. That said, the Eagles are playing with purpose, and they are on a roll. They will get beat soon, but not this week. The pick here is Philadelphia. And finally, the Monday night game is the 7-4 Ravens taking on the 7-3 Chargers at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. 8:15 kickoff on ABC and ESPN. The Ravens are 3-point favorites. Last week, the Ravens lost to the Steelers 18-16, while the Chargers defeated the Bengals 34-27. Fast fact is the Chargers' 3 losses have been to their respective division leaders. Now, the week wraps with another sneaky good game that features an Eastern team headed west to tangle with a solid LA team. The Ravens offense couldn't seal the deal to tie the game in Pittsburgh and head to LA to face a Chargers squad that blew a 21-point lead but hung on to beat the Bengals. While the Ravens have had their issues, I have zero trust in the Chargers, who have a good record, but they've been fattening it up on teams with losing and weak records. And they have yet to beat a team with a winning record. They won't do it this week. The pick here is Baltimore. And there you have it. Last week, I went 10-4, and the lock and upset were correct. Overall, I'm 109-59, 6-5 on the locks, 4-7 on the upsets. We will take our final timeout, come back with the Hoodwood Hot 5, Phat Dap, Head Slap, and the final word from the Wood. Sports from the Hoodwood heads down the home stretch after this.
tuned into Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for no-nonsense commentary, insight, and opinions on the world of sports. Here now live in living color, black by popular demand, your host, KJ Green.
Running third and headed for home here in the Hoodwood, we'll finish up strong with the Hoodwood Hot 5, Phat Dap and Head Slap, and the final word from the Wood. Hoodwood Hot 5 is, again, the Hoodwood's top 5 college teams, not necessarily what's in the CFP ranking or the AP or the coach's top 5, but who I think the 5 best teams in the country are. And we'll start with number 5, and it's a new entry in the Hoodwood Hot 5. No, it's not Georgia, it's Boise State. They actually have one of the 4 byes in the first round of the CFP so far, the projections. And if you haven't seen Ashton Jeanty play, you need to. He is a damn good running back. And with all the hype and talk of Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, he's a thinking man's choice for the Heisman. The Boise State Broncos are leading the group of 5 conference winners right now. And with their 9-1 record, I think they're a good shot to make the college football playoff. Number 4, we have Indiana, the 10-0 Hoosiers, having the week off. They will have their biggest test of the 2024 season when they head to Columbus, face the vaunted Ohio State Buckeyes in what could be the first of 2 matchups. I think, personally, if they beat the Ohio State Buckeyes, that they shut everybody up who's been criticizing them for a quote-unquote weak schedule. You see, nobody ever talks about Ohio State. Oh, they played Northwestern. Oh, they played Purdue. Oh, they played Nebraska. Nobody ever says that's a weak schedule. But Indiana, who's played and beat Northwestern, played and beaten Nebraska, played, and they will play Purdue next week. Not this coming Saturday, but next week. They will play for the Old Oaken Bucket. Why is it that Indiana can play these 3 teams and they're considered weak competition, but Ohio State plays them and it's business as usual? Make it make sense. Our third-ranked team in the Hoodwood Hot 5 is the Texas Longhorns. The Texas Longhorns leading the SEC right now, and they are, I'm looking it up right here, they're 9-1. Their next game, after having outdueled Arkansas, and I thought was a really good game in Fayetteville, tough game to play, and their next game is against Kentucky on the 23rd. It's 3:30 kickoff on ABC. That should be a pretty easy game. Then they have their arch rivals Texas A&M on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. But right now they stand at third. And the number 2 team is, of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Bucks being 9-1, their only loss being to Oregon. Now they have the showdown against Indiana, noon kickoff on Fox. This will be basically their litmus test. If they beat Indiana, they've got pretty much a clear shot to get to Indianapolis and play in the Big Ten Championship, likely against Oregon. If they lose, they're pretty much done. They might be able to still make the CFP playoff, but with a host of other 2-loss teams hovering around, it may not be a feasible situation. Our number 1 team, of course, still the Oregon Ducks, 11-0. They will be off this week, and their final game will be against Washington Saturday after Thanksgiving. But right now, it's Oregon and a whole bunch of other minor teams left standing, because other than Indiana, Oregon's the only undefeated team left. Still say Oregon is still the team to beat, not only in the Big Ten, but they are the odds-on favorite for the college football playoff number 1 seed and to win it all for the college football playoff. That's my hot five. What's yours? Turning now to the Phat Dap and Head Slap of the Week. Phat Dap of the Week goes to the University of Colorado, specifically the Colorado football fans at Folsom Field. There is a super fan for the Bucks named Miss Peggy that Coach Prime has taken a real liking to and promised her that he was going to get them to a bowl game for her. She celebrated her 100th birthday over last weekend, and the Colorado fans serenaded her. I'm sorry, you have to have a hard heart not to get a little choked up seeing that. And then the press conference afterwards, class, just class. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Phat Dap to the University of Colorado for making this super fan feel that much more loved, that much more appreciated. Happy birthday to Miss Peggy, 100. And that's a number. I'm hoping I can get to that number and have my faculties and wits about me to be able to appreciate what people were doing for me. So Phat Dap to Colorado University for making a super fan feel really good. Our head slap of the week, it may be picking on low fruit, but it's too easy to do. Netflix. Now, Netflix has been around for a while. I mean, everybody remembers getting videos from the mail order for Netflix, but now they're online. And they're making the big step up to doing live events. And this Tyson Paul fight was supposed to be done in July, and really a dry run for them because they have 2 NFL games on Christmas. And you really do not want to incur the wrath of 2 of the biggest fan bases in football if the broadcast is glitchy. The Chiefs and Steelers play at 1 o'clock on Christmas. The Ravens and Texans play at 4:30. These are big games. These aren't run-of-the-mill throwaway weekly games that you would say you'll see at 1 o'clock on Fox. These are 4 teams that are battling for playoff spots. 3 of the division leaders, by the time they play, they will be close to a playoff spot, if not already clinched. And there's going to be a lot of, these are big games, bar none. The fact that Netflix kept glitching, freezing up, stopping in the middle of what is amounting to be a dry run, and these were fights. These were, none of the fight. There was nothing like anybody missed anything. But the point is this: Netflix needs to get their act together, because you mess around with Steeler fan or Chief fan, especially if it's a tight game and the broadcast freezes up. It's not going to be a good look, and it's not going to be a good thing for Netflix. They may not get another chance to broadcast a game if they glitch up like that. Not a good look. Now, without much further ado, let's go to the final word from the wood. I grew up watching Mike Tyson in his prime. The first Sports Illustrated cover of 1986 said it all. Kid Dynamite. Grinning Mike Tyson, all of 19, was dubbed the next great heavyweight and future champ. And by the end of that calendar year, he was the heavyweight champion. Every 3 weeks in 1986, I'd go to my guy Jamal's house and we watch Wide World of Sports. And they would show a package of his fights, and all of them were knockouts. He'd destroy a palooka or bum inside of 2 rounds, and we'd marvel at his power and punching ability. The Tyson fights were grouped so many together because he'd fight fights so quick, knock guys out, and that would be that. They'd schedule another fight, sometimes twice a month. And Wide World of Sports would show the fights, and we just marvel at the way Tyson took them out. Tyson defended his title after becoming heavyweight champion 9 times, wins including destroying Larry Holmes in a brutal beating, knocking Michael Spinks out in 91 seconds and pummeling an overconfident Frank Bruno. But he was upset in February 1990 by Buster Douglas in a fight so lightly regarded that it had to be fought in Tokyo because no venue in the United States would take it and host what was regarded to be a tune-up fight for his eventual fight for Evander Holyfield. No one saw Douglas knocking Tyson out. Now, that fight between Tyson and Holyfield didn't happen for 6 years because Tyson was sent to prison on rape charges in 1992. Tyson came out of prison a shadow of himself as once fearsome man, the baddest man on the planet. He ain't knocked around tomato cans like Pete McNeely and Buster Mathis, as well as beating Bruno senseless again. But then came the knockout loss to Holyfield, and then the bizarre ear-biting incident a few months later in the rematch. Tyson, for all intents and purposes, was finished as a top-shelf boxer. He fought a few bums here and there, but he only had one more win left in his tank, and that against Clifford Etienne. He lost his last 3 fights, and if you include the farce I included with Paul earlier, Tyson is 58, and for all intents and purposes, a washed-up fighter, though there were some that said he pulled some of his punches against Paul. Father Time is unbeaten, and it catches up with us all. Tyson is now the Lion in winter, and to be honest, it's sad to see. For all our sports heroes just seem to stay too long. One can picture Willie Mays stumbling around the outfield for the Mets, Griffey Jr. looking paunchy in a White Sox uniform, then returning to Seattle where he quietly faded away. Dan Marino getting picked by the Jags in his final playoff game. Gretzky looking way too slow in a Rangers uni. Now this. I was hoping that Tyson would be able to reach in the way back and knock Paul in the next week. Turn to the camera and say, "See, I'm still the baddest man on the planet." Sorry, it's a bad imitation, but if only wishes came true. If only Father Time wasn't so damned relentless. If only we could have our heroes back the way we wanted them. And that is the final word from the wood. And with the music coming up in the background, you know that means that your time here in the Hoodwood is just about done. And I thank you so much for your visit. Programming note for next week. We'll only be doing picks next week because I've got a lot of stuff to do next week. I'm be on the road, so I won't have time to do a full show. So we'll just do picks next week, but we'll do back doing a full show first week of December. So that's a bit of a programming note. We'll try to get it out right around Thanksgiving. So be on the lookout for that. Now, the other business, make sure you remember that the show's email is kjgreen@sportsfromthehoodwood.com. Do send me emails regarding show topics, both past and future, questions, comments on the show, and both praise and criticism. I do welcome your correspondence, and I will try to get back to you in a timely manner. Now, the show's website is sportsfromthehoodwood.com. That is a back catalog of the show dating back 12 years in both audio and video forms. And check that out if there are any shows that you may have missed. Join the debate and conversation on our rapidly growing Sports from the Hoodwood page on Facebook. We have the video podcast simulcast there, as well as other topics. Lots of funny stuff I find on the web. I find a lot of crazy stuff. We have some really great contributors. You can be one too if you join the conversation there. I respond and remember posts frequently, and we have a lot of great debate. So the video version is also on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and you'll get more great content. What can I say? The link to the podcast is also on the show's Blue Sky feed. We are now on that digital social media at hoodwoodsports.bsky.social. There's a host of interesting stuff to find there. We're getting that up started, so please be patient. We'll be able to communicate with you there as well. You can like and follow there too. We try to get this site up as quickly as possible. Now the audio version is on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Samsung Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and a host of other fine podcast platforms and providers. If Hoodwood is not on your favorite platform, please do ask for it. Drop me a line and I'll see what I can do to get it there as quickly as possible. As always, special thanks to Rage Pictures for providing production assistance to both the show and the website. And that's it from the Hoodwood, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Until next time, fellow sports fans, I'm Merely Bev's son, KJ Green, 30.
Sports from the Hoodwood
Is a Black Bandit Productions and Enterprises presentation.
of a 551 Audio and Films production.